Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us for the Inventors RoundTable meeting tonight. We are currently with attendees from Florida, Pennsylvania, and Shelley, you're in Colorado, right?
Yes, Colorado.
Excellent. I like it when we make it coast to coast, and sometimes we even have Canada in there. So, oh, there we go. Hey, Darren, how are you? All right. Nope, that's two of me. There he is. How you doing?
Hey, how we doing?
Excellent.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. We just started the recording, and so we are going to go ahead and proceed with the meeting. And generally what we do at these meetings, so Shelley, you had asked me what was kind of the difference between the Rocky Mountain Inventors Association and the Inventors Roundtable. All right. So they generally have sponsors, or not sponsors, speakers that come to their meetings, and they generally charge you. All right, so we are free, and we have people all across the country who've got a variety of experiences, and we talk to each other because there are probably, you know, a dozen different meetings going on at any given time where inventors can go and listen to a speaker. You don't always need a speaker. Sometimes you want to be able to ask questions and share your story. So that is what we're going to do tonight. So thank you all for joining us. Mendel was on the radio with us today. He did the recording. He will air on Saturday. And so our topic for today on the recording was how manufacturing has changed since the pandemic. Now, he's got one of those unique stories that he actually launched in 2020. So where he probably didn't put, you know, pandemic in his 2020 business plan, he certainly experienced it firsthand and has the pleasure of experiencing now post-pandemic. So he's manufacturing the product and selling it like crazy on Amazon. And it's something that I promised all the women in my family I would buy them for Christmas. So Mendel, you know, tell everybody, I know you don't have one in your hands, which is fine. Tell everybody what it is, and then we can post your website later.
So what it is basically when you have flowers in a vase, you know, if you want to make the flowers last longer, you're supposed to change out the water and trim the stems, and that kind of lengthens the life of the bouquet. The problem is changing out the water and trimming the stems once the flowers are in the vase, it becomes a little bit of a challenge. So what I did was a pretty basic, you know, mechanism where you twist the vase in the midsection, it opens up a drain on the bottom. All the old water drains out, and then you can twist it again, and that exposes the stems on the bottom. And you can trim the stems, you screw it back together, you refill the water in the vase, and you don't have to touch the flowers. That's the gist of it.
So, and I think it's very cool, but the other thing is that when you have to take the flowers out to replace the water, you totally mess up then the arrangement and you start all over. So I appreciate what it is. And Richard and Darren, tell everybody what you've got, because we are still waiting for that next version of the sexy prototype.
Oh, we have invented the world's first self-casting fishing pole. It's designed to help people learn, little kids, to learn how to cast, to give them the proper, you know, arc in their arm and go forward. It's computer assisted. There's 3 different phases. One, the computer takes care of everything. The person presses the button, and then they're completely out of it. It gives them a cue it's ready to go. Behind their head, it gives them a cue, and then it lets go at the same spot every time, and they can learn to cast in one day, probably about an hour, really. And then they move to the second phase, which still gives them the cues, but they got to start to use their thumb and let go. And then the third phase, it's just like a regular fishing pole. They can pick up any other spin caster, and they know how to cast a pole. People with disabilities, people who have manual dexterity problems, just anybody that needs help to learn how to fish, or to fish by themselves if they're being helped at the moment. And we are diligently working on that next prototype. But I know there are some technical difficulties at the moment. Always. So we're working our way at that, and we'll be at ICAST here in July.
All right, excellent. I know they wanted my my brother-in-law to do some testing for them because he's got MS real bad and is confined to a wheelchair, and he loves to fish. It is his passion to fish. And you know, my sister is like, I'm not really sure how you figure this is fishing when I cast it and reel it in and all you do is hold the pole, but whatever makes you happy, honey, that's what we're going to do. So they're looking forward to being able to help you out with some testing.
Yes.
So, so Shelley, you had gone out and done some, rapid prototyping with your product and been able to sell a few and give a few out in samples. So your next stage then is what?
My next phase most likely is probably to have a marketing awareness campaign online, mostly probably through TikTok, to see how, valid the product still is. And that's where I've identified a company I want to work with, and I seem to understand the process of what is to be done. And then depending on what that outcome is going to the next stage of a campaign that would sort of be starting like a crowdfunding as well. I've considered crowdfunding in the past. I could never seem to get the pledge levels to work out. And that's where sometimes just being on your own, it's good to find that mentorship type of thing.
Hard reality, when you hire a marketing company, they get paid whether you're successful or not.
True.
Okay. And they don't really care. They've got a big invoice.
Right. But I don't have the time. I don't have the time to do it. And
yes,
you do it.
Yeah. Well, okay. So, and I understand the parameters on that, but for everyone, when you're looking at, getting some market feedback, go to a professional trade show. It's 3 days. All right. So it's not like a crowdfunding campaign that's 6 months. All right. It's 3 days and you take your prototypes. You go as an exhibitor. All right. 3 days, you can talk to more people and get more feedback from the people who count, the store owners, the resellers, the suppliers, than if you try to hire a marketing company.
Well, and Darren, I see your hand, and hold on for just a second. Would that then be, would you consider the licensing expo, or if you go to there, is it considered licensing? Okay, so
no, it's a feeding frenzy, and you are the main course.
Okay.
All right. You go to the one that's for your industry.
That's applicable to what one of your key product areas.
Go to the one that is the industry for your product.
Okay.
All right, Darren.
Yeah, a point to what that lady was just speaking of. Darren and I, when we first got our prototypes up last year, we went to 3 shows, and we got as much feedback from the people that would be interested in our product. It was amazing. And 2 shows before we went to ICAST, we got 1,300 people to volunteer their emails to us. So we got a real good understanding of, people liked our idea. They gave us ideas that we started to incorporate, but without having to spend other than $200 or $300 for the fee to be in the show. And at our time, it would have took a marketing company a lot of money and a lot of time to figure that out. And I did it in 2 weekends.
But on the other side of that, that marketing, these trade shows are work. It's a hustle.
Yeah.
Our big one is in Orlando, which has tons of things to do. And by the first couple of days when we get back to the hotel, we're just like, you're gonna work, but I'm just gonna sit. Yeah, they're 12, 14-hour days.
I would rather be tired than poor.
Well,
yeah, I did the same thing. I went to the houseware show, and I did the international floriculture show, all with prototypes, market validation. You get the industry experts; they're going to tell you exactly what they think, and it's invaluable.
It is. They're going to tell you about packaging. They're going to tell you price points. They're going to tell you, their customer base, whether they'd be interested or not. You will find more valuable information at a professional show, not a consumer show, but a professional show in 3 days than you would 6 months.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, your whole presence or pitching is basically a show and tell of your product and
Absolutely.
Yes.
Do you ask them to do any surveys, or it's just the?
No, you are talking face to face to people. You need to be able to ask the questions. You need to be able to see the look on their face. You gauge their interest. A marketing firm, they hand you a stupid report, that they're going to charge you 15, 20 grand for. And all you've got to show for it is
paper,
words on a page.
Yeah.
And
it's like being a carnival barker. When the old carnivals, and they, hey, come on in here. Let me check out this. You got to see this. Hey, young lady, you look nice today. Come on over. My pitch was, hey, you ever see a fishing pole cast itself? Give me 2 minutes. If I don't make you smile, you can walk away.
And that line reeled him in.
It reeled him in.
Very high. There was one time we went on break and we came back, and we were just so tired. And Rick goes, this girl walked by and he goes, "Hey, did you ever see a fishing pole cast itself?" And she said, "Yeah, about 1,000 times. I'm in the booth right next to you."
I was so busy I didn't know who was next to me. But my point being is, yeah, you can really start to get a real good understanding of what the market reaction for your product can be, and sometimes their ideas are like, "Wow, I didn't think of that. There's something," and it could be that organic.
Okay.
So you could cast a line and hold your beer at the same time.
Absolutely, yeah.
Did I miss what Shelly's product was? Or
Yeah, Shelly, we didn't get your product.
Can she not talk about it yet? Or?
Let me, okay, I'll try to do a show and tell, but also I'll put a link in. So it's called Django, and this is it folded. Okay, so it originated from an idea of living in an apartment with a small galley kitchen, and I had no place at the time to use my tablet. Now, just use a tablet or phone, but you open it up, and with the mounting ring on the back case, okay, of the phone, that's it. You can also
I love that.
slide down. The original concept was using it under a kitchen cabinet. So there's a mounting puck like this. This is the mounting puck. And you screw it underneath. It doesn't go through the cabinet. And the mounting puck goes here. And it's, it's tight to put. And then you can turn it any way you want to, or recline it, or turn your phone or tablet, whatever it is. If you want to take it off, you just take it off. And you can put it back on, and that's it. And then you can put it on a flat surface. You can put it against a wall. You can put it against a cabinet. You can extend it out to be the ultimate selfie video stick. My cousin, who's a doctor, puts his backwards, which I never saw before, under his keyboard, and then puts his iPad on the back of it. All right, this one doesn't work, so my apologies. But he put his iPad on the back of Django, and it worked. And I was like, wow. And so he reads music on his iPad.
Huh.
Excellent.
And it comes in different colors. I did the primary colors, red, green, and blue. And it also, I had a friend of mine, I have two versions, aluminum and plastic, ABS plastic. A friend of mine did a 3D printing of it. And so here's like a purple hot pink color. And so I thought for the consumer market, get 2 or 3 of these hot colors and call it the bubblegum pack.
All right.
So,
I like it.
So yeah,
it can be used in consumer as well as, consumer markets as well as the business markets. It can be branded with your own PMS color. It can have a logo etched here. There are a lot of uses for it. It's just I have been stuck, to be honest with you.
I understand. So when you're looking at, I know Richard and Darren are looking at licensing. All right. So they are, getting a few things put together for us to use as marketing tools, and they're going to a big show coming up. They're working on their next version of the prototype. So with you, you really need to identify that next professional trade show to go to, because you will meet the people there and get the feedback that you need. You want to go as an exhibitor so that you've got the right to talk and tell and show. If you go as an attendee and try to sell your product, they will escort you out.
I'm a corporate event planner. That's called soup leasing. They don't want, no one wants to do that.
There you go. So you understand. But if you go and you're an exhibitor, you don't want to go to the inventor section. All right.
Oh, okay.
Go as an exhibitor, a full-blown, they treat you like a grown-up exhibitor. If you go to the inventor section, yes, it's cheaper, and they treat you like you're in high school. Don't do that. If you're going to go, make it worth your time and effort. And it is still thousands of dollars cheaper than a crowdfunding campaign.
That's true. It's just the houseware show I haven't been to in many decades. Well, not many decades, probably a decade, and that would definitely be a big show. So it's also looking at the cost to do it too. But that's a better idea though than spending the money with a marketing campaign.
If you identify the show that best suited for this product, like ours is obviously iCast. It's the biggest casting show. If you get their itinerary, you can sign up for like best new product category, or in our case, we can actually rent time on an actual casting pool. They'll have a pool in there to let people actually cast it, rather than our little 10 by 20 booth where you cannot. And there's all different things you can do to get more involved.
Okay.
Yeah,
Seminars, stuff like that.
we go to the National Hardware Show every year, and it is, I was talking to their VP of marketing this morning, and it's like, we've always joked that was kind of a misnomer. It should be called the Big Box Store National Trade Show. And she said, yeah, we understand that. Because it covers so many different areas. Now, like, Mendel, we could take you to the National Hardware Show because they've got a huge home section. But they don't have a fishing section. So that would be more, wouldn't work for you guys. But they've got, the outdoor living and the kitchen show and the home show area, and, along with the electric and the plumbing and the tools and everything like that. But
so I'm curious, Rita, when you were mentioning all this conversation about it, it just got my mind thinking. But the Houseware Show, the big international one in Chicago, again, based on my budget and what I can afford, and I think it's already happened. I think it happens in March. Would you still recommend, since I'm in Denver, going to like the Denver, Colorado, like home shows, more regional? It's still a city show?
no, they're going to be open to the consumer, and you're going to sell. People are going to want to buy one or two. That's not what you're looking for. You're looking for the store owners, the corporate buyers, the suppliers. All right. And I would think that based on what you're selling, you'd be better off at the Consumer Electronics Show.
Yes, I have visited a couple times.
That one's going to be in Las Vegas.
Yes, it always is. It has more press than the Super Bowl.
Yeah, it does. It does. And it is more in line with your product.
True. It's exactly true. Is there the only negative thing I've heard, and this is several years old, not that it's not known in the industry, but that the Chinese come to see what they can also rip off?
Oh, Shelley, they come everywhere. And your patent is issued?
It shouldn't be, no. I mean, I have a patent and another pending.
Okay. All right. So you can't have everybody who buys one sign a non-disclosure, non-compete. Don't worry about the Chinese. Go sell your product.
Okay. And as far as manufacturing, Mendel, you were mentioning, I mean, I've gotten updated manufacturing pricing from a firm out of Baltimore for, out of China. But I've had some people say, Shelley, don't do China, try to do American. But American is just much more expensive unless there's just areas or places I don't know.
There's specifics. Go ahead, Mendel. You answer, and then I'll add on to it.
So, I mean, I currently manufacture in China through a contract manufacturer. If you were to go manufacture in China, just know the contract manufacturers, they're marking it up. And usually, because inventors are fairly risky clients, they're marking it up significantly. Made in USA is very appealing to retail. They love made in USA products. So if you have the option, it's not that much more expensive. I would say make it in the USA. Also, the lead times from China are unpredictable. There's geopolitical risk, especially now. You never know what's going to happen. You have another pandemic, and the whole thing goes to shit. So if you can made in USA has a large appeal, and I've considered it heavily. I haven't made the move yet because it's a little bit more complicated. I already have a mold and tooling over there, so it's a little bit more complicated. But if the pricing is similar, make it in USA for sure.
Hey, Mandel, if you had your molds made and stuff, you obviously own those molds, right?
Right.
Okay, so if you had those, then you could go to somebody that does injection molding, and I have my mold, say, look, I need your injection machines to run this mold. I could have that done. This we have an option A and an option B. We can license, or God forbid we have to go down the road of manufacturing because we're both at a time in our lives where we don't want to work 19 hours a day for the next 10 years or 20 years. It's something I do need to have more information about, because option B and option C need to have be attended to too. So in case A doesn't, pan out, which I don't think mine won't, but I'm just saying, I've always liked to have option B and option C and know what the hell I'm talking about. So
what you look at is exactly what Mendel was suggesting. We had a lady years ago, she has a flagpole. It's a different type of the way the flag hangs on the pole. and she wanted it made in America, just adamant. And so we went out and we got some pricing. Well, you know how much a flagpole costs. They're basically under 20 bucks. Well, now you've got to figure the multiple of 5. So those flagpoles are generally made for, you know, 4, 5, maybe 6 bucks. All right. So she started getting pricing in the US, $175 just to make it and have them dumped on her front lawn. Wasn't going to work because now you do a multiple of 5. I don't know anybody's going to pay $500 for a flagpole. So we went and got some pricing from China. $6.75 to have them made, boxed, and shipped in a nice pallet and set on her driveway. All right, what was the kicker? The aluminum was being shipped from the US to China to make them.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
You know, just, you know, frustrating. Well, we had another guy, he's in the Denver area, and he was getting his stuff manufactured in China because he figured it would be cheaper, but it was small electronics. And so the failure rate was so high, and the shipping rate, by the time he pulled the trigger and had the manufacturing move to Southern California, he was actually breaking even because there wasn't the failure rate. So you've got different parts that you're looking at. You know, I know that people have had molds made in China at 1/3 of what they would have cost in the US and then shipped to the US. And then manufacturing is taken over in the US. So when you start looking at the variables, it allows you to make better decisions. But you need to understand then the questions you have to ask. All right, so small electronics, high failure rate. Certain materials, high manufacturing in the US. And then you just look at, you know, what's going to make the most sense for you. What is yours, 2 pieces, Shelley?
Yes, it's two main pieces that are aluminum, yes, and the rest are is it four magnets,
Okay.
polycarbonate labels, and miscellaneous pieces in the hinge. But yeah.
So a lot of that simpler manufacturing has started to come back to the US, but a lot of it has gone to Mexico. So after the during and post pandemic, a lot of manufacturing has gone to, you know, some different countries. So if you use a contract manufacturer like ITI, all right, they're going to go out and find the different places where you can manufacture. I've got a couple of others that we use, and they will say, all right, manufacturing this product is going to be better here. Manufacturing this product will be better in another country. I had some guys that, you know, I always say somebody says, I've got a brand new idea and it's never been done before. And I say, well, unless it's the flush toilet, it probably has been done somewhere before. And they said, no, actually it is a new flush toilet. And so, you know, it was a very cool way of manufacturing it, but they were just adamant that it should be made in China. And I said, gentlemen, you do realize that almost all the porcelain in the world comes from Mexico. Why are you not having it made there? And it just blew them. They had no idea that all that stuff was being shipped to China, and that's why it was so expensive. But the other thing you need to keep in mind is the multiple of 5. All right. And that means that if you are if your product, if a consumer looks at it and they go, you know, or a store owner and says, oh, this should be $25. Consumer is God when it comes to paying for your product. If they think it's too expensive, they're not going to buy it. So we always deal with the multiple of 5. And when you go to the trade show, anybody who is seriously looking at your product, they're calculating the multiple of 5. And that means that you've got to be able, if it's a $25 product, you've got to be able to make it, package it, and ship it for 5. Because the retailer is going to sell it for 25, give or take a little bit. They bought it for $12.50 from someone, a distributor. The distributor bought it from you for $6.25. And that means that you've got to be able to make everything and sell it, and you make $1.25 on each unit, for which you have to pay all your service providers and do all your marketing. So that formula is not on Mount Rushmore, but it could be, because everybody calculates based on that. So when you're looking then at, all right, where am I going to manufacture? I've got to focus on the multiple of 5. Even a licensee is focused on the multiple of 5. They all know it. And so, you know, it's like the big thing then is that, you know, Mendel, when you were launching, you went e-commerce. Well, a lot of inventors pre-pandemic, that wasn't that much of an option. Now everybody orders off of Amazon. But to get into the big box stores, they're consignment shops and they don't buy or make anything. They are empty shelves. Well, suppliers like a Danco owns all of the plumbing space in Home Depots. And so if Danco doesn't want it there, you don't get to be there. Pet products owned by 4 companies. All of the shelf space in America is owned by 4 companies. Doesn't matter which big box store you're in, there are 4 pet products that own companies that own all that shelf space. So what do? You've got to figure out another way around the big box store, and Amazon is one of them. E-commerce, whether it's Amazon or one of the other ones.
With e-commerce, the factor of 5 is still in play.
Yes.
Like, you won't make money if you're charging less than 5 times what it costs you to make.
Mm-hmm.
Straight up, no matter what you do, no matter how good your product is.
I wanted to add to that, especially when you go to the trade shows. Like the show we go to is not open to the public; it's only for manufacturers. And the few people that came and were very interested, like that, sat there and they were just turning numbers in their head. And I'm sure they're doing factors of 5. But the other thing that they're playing into is the big thing is, and these are the biggest players in it. Like they own 70% of the market. They're thinking, how many of these can I sell? Because you can take 30 to 40% off your unit cost if you can get those numbers up, if you can get those bulk numbers up, those long runs up. And the other thing I wanted to add, when you mentioned electronics, it's funny, 2 years ago when we started this, the magic of our reel, how it knows where it's at, is called an IMU, inertial measurement unit. And, just to make a prototype, I bought a bunch of them for $6 a piece in China. And at least half of them didn't work. They did something, but it wasn't consistent. I went to Adafruit, which is in Manhattan, and I bought something that does the exact same thing for $35, and I've been buying those for prototypes, and I've used these hundreds of times, thousands of times. It's always been exact. So that is a very real thing.
Yep. The thing I'd wanted to mention about a crowdfunding campaign is that the only way those are successful is if you already have inventory in a warehouse.
Yeah. And that goes back to manufacturing as to how long it's going to, I even got a local 5 miles down the road, aluminum, manufacturing. And that was still 3 months for even 1,000 pieces. It was still 3 months. So it's time.
We've had inventors raise $500,000 on a Kickstarter campaign and be bankrupt in 2 weeks.
Wow.
Because their pricing, they didn't understand the pricing and the requirements of the platform. So, I mean, it was a killer. I mean, they lost everything. And, two different inventors from the Colorado area that had come into meetings and told their stories about crowdfunding. And it's like, unless you have got inventory already paid for and in a warehouse,
That's new.
you're a loser. And they don't tell you that on the front page of the Kickstarter platform.
Yeah.
No, I was under the impression you're getting this money to start your business so you can start to manufacture.
So you can have money for that inventory.
Yeah, dream on.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
No, yes.
Yeah, we're doing one of the radio shows about crowdfunding because Michael really wants us to talk about the reality check. And the reality check is that, if you've got in the beginning, all right, back in the day, you might be able to get away with that, but it has become so sophisticated now that if you don't have that inventory already set and on a slow boat from China, so you know when it's going to arrive or you've already got it in a warehouse and your prices are fixed, where they really hurt these other guys is that they raised a lot of money and they had their pricing on their product. And it was pricing that they thought made sense. But by the time the platform took a piece and the payment processor took a piece, and then they had to hire a marketing firm in there because they weren't getting the hits on their platform, took a piece. Now they were underwater. And the company that was supposed to manufacture them raised their prices. Now they couldn't fill any of the orders and they had to give all the money back even after they paid the service providers. So within about it was over.
They always
I don't know how you
underestimate
arrange that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
They always underestimate the shipping cost also. Like people don't realize how much it actually costs to ship, boxing, shipping, labor, everything. That's the difference between making money and losing a lot of money.
It almost sounds like once you know that there's interest in a product, license it. Because
Thank
someone else is taking the responsibility.
If only we knew somebody. Yeah, if one of you knew somebody that did that for us. or could help
Gee, let me see if I can think of somebody.
It is okay.
When you said about those costs, like you remember the chip shortage, which we're still kind of under. Now the prices of our chips for our reel doubled, and also if she's doing aluminum, I know aluminum's pretty high right now. So how do you actually? You can't lock in those prices. I mean, how do you?
And that's you can't, and that's why you've got to be able to get them being manufactured, and they've already been shipped, so you know what all your costs are going to be.
Okay.
Because otherwise, the campaign takes 6 weeks. Well, we all know that life can change a lot in 6 weeks, and so pricing can change and shipping can change, but your crowdfunding campaign has already started. You can't go in and change any of the pricing. You can't say, "Oh, gee, I'm sorry, but I got to raise all the pricing on this." So that makes it difficult. And so the best way to do it is that they're already on a ship, and so all the cost.
Yeah, but even the ship spends a month on the water, and by that time you can't get that price again. I mean,
Well,
Here's something I've been doing on my own. I'm of this duo, I'm the fisherman. Okay. I'm the guy that's going out doing this stuff. So I'm at Bass Pro this weekend. So I went over and found reels that mine are similar to in function. And I started looking at what they're selling them for. Okay. That gives me an idea that if I go talk to KidCast or Shimano or Daiwa or Zepco or whoever, I know that in that store in Perrysburg, Ohio, that reel had a retail value between $50 and $60. So I've got to be able to sell mine or make mine or sell it for 10. So by the time it gets to Walmart, they can make it and sell it for 50, right?
right.
So I got to be able to build it for $5 to make my $6 a reel or whatever if I was manufacturing it.
So the other thing to keep in mind with all of that is that when you license it, all right, the licensee has already got shelf space. They've already got customers. They already know where they're going to go with it. So now instead of ordering 5,000 like the Inventor would, they may order 50,000. Well, that drops the pricing down. They can start squeezing the price.
Sure.
If they already own then the shelf space, all right, they skip one of the layers, one of the breakdowns of that multiple of 5. All right, they are now the supplier and the distributor to that shelf space. So they can squeeze things that you can't.
Right. But it does give me an idea about where my costs have to start to get to that number.
Absolutely.
I have to be able to build this thing, or when I'm looking at a licensing deal, somebody says, okay, we think it's going to have an M price of $53 a reel. That's where we think we're going to be able to get. So they're going to build it or sell it for about 26 at wholesale. And if I'm looking at 5% of wholesale on $25, there's my cut. I can start to do the mathematics backwards. If I'm looking at a shelf in real time going, it's somewhere in there. So you can start to answer some of your questions about what do I have to build it for? What do I have to do? There's ways to find this information out.
And if you're
going and doing it yourself, doing the legwork, talking to people. I stop people in these stores and tell them about my fishing reel. I said, if it was on this shelf right now, would you pay $55 for this? It teaches your kid how to fish in one day and you don't have to buy another one for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah,
I would. Absolutely, I would.
I've sold Django for different ranges ever since I started selling the first 100 back in 2016. Like I said, pandemic slowed me down a lot financially as well. So I have done.
You're already selling these?
Well, I got 100 made back in 2016. So
okay.
100. Again, this was no marketing. There was nothing. I mean, I sold some on Etsy. Sorry. Some people saw others. They bought it from friends of mine, and they just paid me. But usually it's about $49.95. But you get the stand, you get 2 mounting rings, and you get the mounting puck. So, but going through the beginning before I ever got these machined is I remember being at an entrepreneur seminar when I was living on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and then some guy came up to me who was had a big company out of Manhattan. his warehouse was on the Eastern Shore. And he's like, well, how much would you sell it for? And I said, how much would you buy it for? And he goes, it depends on where I saw it. Because he had a lot of money, he did private jets a lot. And he goes, there's a type of, I guess, publication, magazine, whatever, that's, that you see in the private jet industry of different high-end products. And he goes, you could easily sell that for 100. Well, maybe I could to that market, but I can't sell it for 100 to someone who's going into Best Buy.
Right.
I mean, so I think it's depending on, I've sold it as high as 65. I've sold it as low as $39.95 because I wanted to see where it would fit. But right now I'm still in the $49.95 for the aluminum. If you want color, that's custom. That's totally different.
Yeah.
At least right now, I'll put it that
Right.
way.
Well, see, and a
With somebody to manufacture for that high-end clientele that guy was talking about, you can make it, inlaid with rosewood and all kinds of stuff. And hey, it's $650 for your $19 million Gulfstream.
there
That's
you
just
go.
a bucket
There you
for
go.
those people.
Well-
They wouldn't blink at it.
A licensee, what they will do a lot of times is private label it. All right.
Yeah.
So you may have a private label for, the Nordstrom's group and then a label for your Target group or your
Yeah.
Best Buy group. And that's not unusual. It's the same product inside the box.
Yeah, this is a previous version 2 because it's the top part is not there. It's a previous a prototype, but you can see at the bottom here, I think,
Mhm.
the logo that was etched in. That's actually my company. I co-own a conference and trade show for higher ed. So I had it etched in here, but the original name was Tango, and that was etched in the back. I changed it because it was Tango's used everywhere. But again, these are where things are more customized as well as the color. So you could brand it with your company's PMS color. You could do Breast Cancer Awareness Month and do all pink. There's so many different things you could do, but that's like a different category.
Yes, it is.
Very
Yeah.
different category.
Focus on licensing, to a main company and let them do all the creative stuff with it.
Okay, so you
Otherwise,
bring
you make yourself crazy.
I got a query today from a company that turned me down a few years ago. But I just wonder what anyone's opinion is as you've seen on TV.
Okay. Good question. As seen on TV, the lifespan of your product is going to be right around 6 weeks.
Oh, okay.
All right. And it's because if you license it to them, they dummy down the quality so bad that all they get are bad reviews.
Ah, okay.
All right. So
They also,
the life cycle really fast.
Yeah.
So you've got a product that actually could, have a lifespan. Don't go there.
they also charge you for production costs and this fee and that fee, and before you know it, you're in it for like 15 grand, and then they sell maybe 10 grand worth, and you're screwed.
Yeah, I never liked the quality, but some guy reached out to me on LinkedIn and he's like, can we talk? And I said, I don't mind talking to you. I said, but your company already declined me. And not only did you decline me a few years ago, I stupidly sent you an aluminum and a plastic version and it got lost. So no, I'm not really inclined to talk to you.
Yeah. No, the SC, there's 2 or 3 good ones that will actually do a legitimate licensing deal where they cover all the costs. All right. And they've got a pretty good rating, but it still doesn't mean that they're not going to dummy down the quality of the product.
Okay.
So what we look at then is you've got one version of the product that is the dummy down version, and then a higher end version of the product that's under a different name. So it could actually go into the marketplace then once you kind of, they get the aroma of the product out there, and then they want it, they want a better quality one. And so you've got the better quality one, it's just under a different name. But a legitimate licensee is going to make a good quality product. And as seen on TV, most of them, we ranked a whole bunch of them a few years ago, and there were, I think there were 3 of them that had a B+ average, and then the rest of them were Ds because of their lifespan of the product. So you paid for a patent that's got a lifespan of 20 years, and you get 6 weeks out of it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Mike, do you have any questions?
Go ahead.
Not right now. Just listening and taking it all in. I got some notes here. I never knew of the multiple of 5. I got a note there as seen on TV. Stay away from. But with the ideas I have, my next step really is I have to pick one to move forward with. But my main goal has always been to license some products, just because I don't. I come up with too many ideas that I don't want to really get tied in with manufacturing and stuff. And I don't have any one of them that I think ever grabbed me with that much attention to move forward with it to actually.
Right. All right. So let me help you set some parameters on those. If, when you look at your ideas that you've, put down someplace, that you've etched out, at least either, a drawing or a sketch, or, named it something. All right. Put them into categories. The first category is, where are you an expert? Let me give you some examples. If you are a mechanic and you fix cars and you've developed a new way to pull an engine out, that's your area of expertise. If you're a dog groomer and you did a new dog brush, your area of expertise. Now, if you're a homemaker and you come up with a new way of building a house off a grid, probably not your area of expertise. I had one of those. And so the second group then is where you've got things that would fall into the same category. All right. So you might have 2 or 3 pet products, or 2 or 3, things for the backyard, that type of thing. And then your third group are the ones that are just all over the place. All right. Then within each category, or if you're just all over the place, you look at what is the easiest to get into the marketplace, what is the easiest to get manufactured, and what has the biggest pull as far as the consumer goes. All right. So when we get somebody that says, oh, I had one guy said, I've developed a new spaceship that, will land in the forest, and, you can have a one-on-one meeting with God. And I go, I think it's called a church, and there's one on every corner. But he found an attorney that would write him a patent for that. It's not the attorney's job to say, this is really a bad idea. It's not the examiner's job to say, this is really a bad idea. It is kind of, your job and, the market research that you can do ahead of time to say, okay, let's go with this one. It's a new pet product, and people will spend more money on babies and pets than you've ever imagined, or it's going to, teach people to cast all the time, or it's the one of a kind vase out there that you screw off from the middle instead of pulling all the flowers out. So you're looking at the one of the kind. A better widget is a good gamble. All right. So the other example is a flashlight is a light coming out of the end of the stick. We all know that. You look down, a row at Target and you see 20 different types of flashlights, all different sizes. Some of them still have patented, time frames on them. The guy who invented the one that wrapped around a pole, very cool, game changer. All right, just a better widget, still a light coming out of the end of the stick, but now you don't have to hold it in your mouth to use both hands.
Yep.
So little things sometimes can be big game changers, and that's what you want to look for in your own ideas.
Nice.
Okay. And
How
then,
about one quick question I have is, how about with like app ideas, or like I don't even know if there's a way to, is there a way to license ideas, changes to apps? Like say I had some ideas on the Airbnb app, or a driving app or something like that.
don't even waste your time.
Really?
Apps are obsolete before the patent's even filed. Technology changes so fast. So unless you plan on making it, investing the 20 grand into making the app work, you're not going to be slapped with a cease and desist because you're infringing on somebody else's app that's already out there. Don't go there. Apps that are beneficial to the consumer are ones that are tagged with hardware, like the doorbell one. We've got some other ones that we had a guy that licensed his where he actually had the app that worked with your phone. So, if you're out hiking and you get lost, you don't know how far you are away from a phone signal. I live this picture. This is where I live. All right. The river that runs down there is the French Broad River, and there is not a freaking signal to be found once I get 10 feet away from my house.
Okay.
All right. But his app would trigger the next cell signal and send his location to whoever he had designated. So if he was lost, now somebody actually was able to trigger where he was, and somebody could come get it.
Nice.
And it was very cool. It worked. So, you know, there are times, but it's got to be something that you can control the hardware for.
Or it sounds like you have to be in the actual programming of it and really want to get deep down in it.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's a tough one. Now, you build a better hammer. Those patents on tools usually come and go, and the product is just still hanging in there. The patents on tools last the longest of any other industry.
I do have a few of them. I grew up and worked in the trades as an electrician for 25 years. So there's a few of my lists that I'm looking at.
There you go.
I've got some stuff that I got to take a look at.
When you nail it down and you know which one you want to go on first, the first thing you pay for is the professional search.
Yep.
All right. If it's been done anywhere in the world at any time in history, you will not be granted a U.S. patent. It doesn't matter if you plan on selling it overseas or not.
Okay.
Okay.
Oh, hey, something we just figured out because we're doing our patent and stuff, and we're about to be public. Well, we're published, but have it given to us. Is you have United States patents, then you have your international patents. So when you do your searches, you know, first off, you just do a product search to make sure that you're not infringing on somebody and you have something to move forward on. Then you go do your patent, your regular search and stuff that your patent attorney writes it, and you have all your pictures and all your information in it. But they're going to ask you about international patents, and you're like, oh, that sounds great. Yeah, it's about $2,600 to do the search.
180 some countries. I mean, you just can't beat the 162 countries, and you just can't beat this deal
until it's time to file for it. And then each one of those countries, the top 10 countries that we would want to sell our product in, if we was to go and file in every one of those countries, it'd be $51,000 just to file that patent in those countries. And I'm like, well,
that's
this
not right.
I could have saved $2,800. They can kiss my butt. I'm not doing it.
But that's not right. Okay. You know, keep in mind that patent attorneys are service providers. So they're going to tell you based on what they're charging. All right. So when you look at, you know, it's called the Patent Cooperation Treaty, the PCT. It has a very strict time frame that you could only file from 1 year from your first filing. So if you filed a provisional, you got 1 year and you have to file that international. The international is based on that PCT has got a filing fee, but if your attorney is doing it, it's roughly 8 to 10 hours to change over the formatting to meet the international formatting. And then when you go to the countries, all you should be paying is the filing fee. Well, your filing fee, you only look at filing in the country where it's going to be manufactured. So if your main country is the US for sales, maybe Canada, then you're looking at filing in Mexico or Canada because that's where it's going to be manufactured. That's it. You don't try to file everywhere. But if you're manufacturing in China and you filed in China and someone else infringes on you in China, China will go after them because now you are filed there. So there are times when that international filing, you've protected the rights of the licensee that you go into business with to actually manufacture in that country. So there are certainly times, and your $50,000 is way out of line. So sometimes attorneys they're very high priced. A more expensive attorney doesn't always mean the job is better. It just means they're driving a nicer car.
Yeah, I understand.
All right. So
that's the thing is CYA, everybody. Always check, get as many opinions as you can get. Like when we got hooked up with Rita here, she's been a wealth of, like that. She just said to me, I went from what my attorney's been telling me. So this is what they're going to charge you. This is what you have to have by October the 21st because they asked me to file by November 21st. I'm like, where in the hell am I going to come up with $51,000 in 6 months? I mean, I'm just a real estate appraiser.
Well, and the other thing is that, all right, so let's say you had, said, okay, let's file the PCT. It covers you for 30 months, all right, in 165 countries. All right. So now that means you've got 30 months to decide what other country or two did you want to file in. All you should have to pay for is the filing fee, because they've already looked at the PCT. Well, the filing fee in most of those countries is about equivalent to what it is in the US.
Yeah, well, we got it in a spreadsheet right now, like Australia is 1,900.
No, that's the filing fee. And then there's he has it broken out as a filing fee and then an official fee.
And a transaction fee
So that's a translation fee.
or translation
That's
fee.
for non-English speaking.
Well, and
Translated into Brazilian, it's $2,100.
yeah, but see, you wouldn't be filing in all those countries. That's silly. You would look at one or maybe two. I mean, we've been doing this. I've been doing this 15 years and I've got 6 attorneys who work for, the law side.
Well, the point is, we thought we needed to have those protections, so we didn't want somebody knocking it off and selling it.
No. There are 2 things that will encourage someone to knock off your product, and they have nothing to do with your patent. All right. The first one is that you are not able to fill your orders, and somebody says, "Oh, I can do that," or you're charging too much, and someone says, "Oh, I can do that cheaper." That's why that multiple of 5 is so important to follow. And you say, "Oh," I'll get people to say, "Oh no, I can charge twice that amount." It's like only until someone knocks you off. All right. So,
Which is why I have a plastic version created, because someone said, many people said, "Kelly, I'm not going to pay that much money." Pardon my black cat who's behind.
that's okay.
That kind of money. But a friend said, "Be your competition. Go ahead and get the design and prototype for the plastic version, and that way you've done both."
Yeah.
So,
You've got to look at it from, if I was competing against me, what would I do? All right. But I've never recommended to anyone that they file in a whole bunch of countries. We always look at file the PCT, go after the licensing, find out where the licensee is going to manufacture it, and then you file in that country. But the 30 months gives you time.
Right.
So I'm not sure why.
I guess I can only answer my own question here, because if I can't find somebody to license it in 30 months, maybe it isn't a good enough product to be out in the market.
There you go. So when you're looking at then, filing the PCT, it should have been maybe 5 hours of the attorney's time, plus the filing fee, which is $2,500 for the PCT was $2,500. And depending on what his hourly rate was, it should have been, I know what, my guy's hourly rate is, it would have been about, maybe $2,500 for them to do the whole prep, less than that.
That's about what he charged me.
So, and then you got the PCT, the filing fee, $2,500, and then you've got 30 months to decide which countries.
Okay.
And you pick 1 or 2.
Yeah.
That's it.
That makes better sense.
Funny thing about being your own competition, when I was in furniture for 30 years before this, and we made metal beds, and this goes back to a little bit what you're saying in your market. You can charge more in some markets than others. We had the exact same bed, packed the exact same way in the exact same sized box, with a different box with a finer label or a different instruction sheet for Walmart versus Wayfair. And there's a good $75 difference there. Wayfair is more expensive, and they would find it on Wayfair because Wayfair had excellent marketing. And then they go, "Well, I can find it pretty close to the same thing at Walmart." It was actually the exact same product, just in a different box and a different instruction manual and a different customer service number, and actually a different UPC code. They're called derivatives.
Yeah. So
Yeah, unfortunately, not only do we have to be inventors and we have to be marketers, we have to be, some semi-lawyers, we have to be, SKU experts, and it's daunting,
Oh, it can be.
it is,
That's,
it is the
that's
hardest thing I've ever done, including watching my mother die. It was harder than that. It is hard.
It is
Very
hard. It's long.
A product, and to
Yeah.
Can you
doing it.
speak to us about, was it sales sheets?
Oh, a sell sheet?
Yeah. Because like what Shelly was saying, she made 100 of them and sold them. So somebody
Right.
says, "You made any of these? You sold any?" Well, yes, I have.
That's a very good thing to have in your pocket.
Yes, it is. Because they
Yes,
can
it
say,
is.
"Yeah, I have. I manufactured them and I sold them. I have sales." They don't need to know how many sales, I guess.
But do you have what Mr. Wonderful on Shark Tank calls hobby sales, which I've had hobby sales. I knew I was not going to make money on 100. It cost me $67 per item to make, and I assembled every single one of them because I wanted to know from an inventor who created it. I want to know how every piece works.
Well,
So
yeah, but referring back to Mr. Wonderful, I mean, he's not the beginning and the end of all. Some people aren't going to sit there and go, "Well, is it this or that?" They just want to know if you have sales. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Sales.
Listen, I watched him one time when he was on a panel. All right, when we were at the National Hardware Show, and everybody was so excited, and I had inventors who paid to stand in front of him.
Wow.
And the one guy actually, he had the nerve to look at me and the inventor, and he goes, "Well, why don't you have this on the packaging?" And I said, "If you turned it over, it's right there in front of you. So he was sitting there drinking coffee, being a smartass, all right,
Yeah.
giving everybody shit who stood in front of him. I am sorry for my language, but he did not impress me at all. He is freaking
Good to hear.
entertainment, and that is it.
Well,
You
that's
know,
good to hear, though. So yes, I've had sales, and I've, like I said, I've sold different price points. I've kept track over the years who I sell it to, how much I sell it to, if I just give it, the shipping cost, everything. So I know what's going on. It's just I was looking at like the International Houseware Show isn't until next March. There's a musician show for like musician supplies. That's not until next January. I guess I'm sort of curious, where do I go if I can't find the shows to the rest of the year? Is find out my manufacturing in the US?
all right, you're kind of stretching
see
on
what I can
finding
do?
the show. All right. Focus on the
Okay.
show that's best for you and getting teed up for that. All right. So what can you do? Get some people out there who are, using the product in different ways. Get some 15, 20-second videos of them and start posting them so that you can start getting some traction.
Okay.
All right. And where you know that your price point should be, X, and you've been willing to have some made and take a loss on them, that's fine. A lot of inventors have to do that. I've got some guys that are doing that right now because they just want to be able to show that it's being sold. And so that was a good strategy. Now you're just looking now for the testimonials for those ones that you sold, and not just you doing the talking, but other people doing the talking for the videos, getting those testimonials. 15, 20 seconds. You can do it with a telephone. All right. When you do those little videos, hold the phone horizontally, not vertically. It makes a difference.
375 landing page.
Okay.
Can we see what we got before in March?
No,
Well, to give you, I don't know how you guys are affiliated with Rita, but when we were on Rita's radio show at the beginning of the month, April's been the
March we had 824.
Oh, we're still working on one about March, but we had people come to our webpage, check it out, check out the second page. But I don't know, where can you find out, like, because ours is completely organic. Up until we got, on Rita's show, we have done no marketing at all whatsoever. But we average somewhere between 850 and 1,000 hits a month. Somebody checking out our webpage for whatever reason. Didn't know if that was good or bad. I mean, where do you go to find that kind of information as inventors? How do I find out how many reels that Zepco sold, or how many widgets that company A sold? How many, where's that statistical information that the government must have, other than I know there were 50 million Americans that went fishing last year and they spent $49.1 billion.
The best way, everybody's got different numbers that they're looking for. You get somebody that's had 20 hits and now they've got 100 hits and they think it's a great day. Where you're looking at growing and getting the word out there. So a lot of times you've got to let it not just be organic. You got to kind of go after it. And so when you're looking then at, hey Jeff, how are you tonight?
Oh, somebody just joined.
So when you're looking at, kind of working your numbers, right? One of the things I ended up having to do is I had to hire somebody, with everything that was going on. I needed to be able to do the social media push, but I could not do it by myself. And,
I think so.
I hired a couple of different folks that did a terrible job and they made me very angry. You don't do pay for clicks. That's just stupid. But I hired a guy in the Denver area and he has made all the difference in the world. He didn't tell me what I had to do. He did it. And that's what you're looking for if you need to go that route. Otherwise, you just go and you keep posting and some of that you can do organically and get it out there, get more testimonials from people. Cute ones, get kids doing it. People love kids. And then post it on other platforms. I mean, we run the radio show on 8 different platforms. It's, it's making a difference.
Yeah.
But those are some of the things that you can do.
But if that's successful, if you can grow your website and sales successfully just organically, you can actually pay for ads. You can do PPC, you can do, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and pay for ads. And it will just add gas to the fire. I mean, like I know for myself, Like organically, yeah, I'd get maybe, like 850 to 1,000 hits a month, back in the early days. But then when you start running ads, you get traction, you get more visitors, you get more videos, more organic posts from users or customers who are buying your product and posting their own videos. And then it's like it compounds onto itself, So like during Q4, I get between 5 to 10,000 hits a day, on my website. So it's like it grows on itself. I wouldn't only rely on organic marketing, but everything has its place. And for sure, when you're first starting, organic is a good way to start for sure.
Yeah, when you get to the point where, it's like when I finally hired somebody to do mine, people would Google National Hardware Show and all they could find was Inventor Lady. And so it did force the National Hardware Show to up their game a little bit. And they go, all right, the funny thing is that the guy I hired used to work for them. So he knew exactly what to do. And so that was good. That was good for us. It certainly did raise the profile. And so, when you get to that point, Mike Green is the guy who does it for me. He charges $35 an hour. And like I said, he doesn't tell me what to do. He does it. And that takes a huge responsibility off of me. And he can even go into my website and say, okay, this needs to be updated. Or, we can do it this way. We can add, certain things to it. And he does it. And that is just so valuable to me. Jeff, how are you tonight?
I was on mute. I'm doing fine. Yeah, I was a little late. I had another call I had to be on, so sorry for showing up late. But yeah.
That's all right. That's all right. We're, spread out around the country, although Shelley is fairly close to where you are. Did you ever get a hold of Eckhart?
I did. I went with him for a bit. And it was an interesting discussion. We can probably take it offline, but yeah, it wasn't what I'd hoped. But we can talk about it later. But
All right. So yeah, we're gonna get him on the radio show in the next few weeks.
yeah, he's a great guy. I mean, awesome.
So yes, he is. Yes, he is. So what's new in your world?
Oh, not too much. Just just playing around with some different design ideas on my product, and that's about it. Working a little bit with 3D printing, trying to figure out if I can 3D print some of the parts. So yeah.
All right. Excellent. So comment, guys. Anybody else have a question? Desires?
Appreciate the info. Nice meeting you guys.
Yeah, great meeting
Guys.
other people.
Kelly, whose website did you want?
I think I got everyone. I mean, Mendel sent me his. I think Darren
Okay.
sent me his. Darren, yours is RDO literally.llc.
Yeah, that's actually a website, believe it or not.
I would suggest from a marketing perspective, it'd be a little different because it doesn't tell you who you are. Now, mine might not either because the Django is a weird name in a lot of ways, but RDO sounds, I don't know.
The big one we had was it was actually R&D Outdoors, and R&D is research development. It's also Rick and Darren, but there are so many R&Ds in every fashion and everything. .com, .net, everything existed. Now I found out we are an LLC, by the way. I found that, and just after an hour of screwing around with it, I was like, you know what, this is what it is. It's the only thing I kind of like is that it's short, but yeah, you're absolutely right. It has no identifier in it.
What's the name of your product?
The perfect
No,
cast.
the business is R&D Outdoors. The perfect
I don't
cast
want
is just the
I don't
first
want the
of
business name. What's the product name?
the product name is the Perfect Caster. For this reason.
You can always have RDO.llc forward to the perfectcaster.com or whatever that dot extension is, but RDO does nothing to sell.
Yeah.
It's just
It does not. All right. So you can have the name of your business be whatever you want. Nobody cares. You don't need anybody to go to your website. All right. The name of the official name of my company is Flacuza International.
right.
The F, the L, the C were the key parts there. It stands for faith, love, and commitment. I figured, people want to say the words. I said, stick a C in there because the other vowels with the F, the L, and the C didn't work very well. And they said, Fleck.com is taken by a German company. And I said, oh my goodness, put the USA on there and we are good to go. So hence Flacuza International when we changed and got our first international client. But nobody knows that. All right. I was down at the Denver Metro Chamber, where I met Rob years and years and years ago. Somebody came up to me and they go, I know you, you're that inventor lady. And it like works for me. And inventorlady.com was off to the races.
Mhm.
When you look, when you name your product, try to do it with something that someone would think of, or use a tagline. All right. We had some guys that had a name of the product called Tag-A-Beaner. Again, one of those words that was made up, nobody would know it was there, but their byline was pet tag holder. So if you want a pet tag holder, what do you Google? You Google pet tag holder, and it was a redirect to Tag-A-Beaner.com.
And that's kind of where we're going. We have more than one product.
Yeah.
So it'll be like rdo.lc/perfectcaster. And then we can buy a domain that just takes you, it just says theperfectcaster.com. That'll take you right to that. It's
Sure.
just like an alias, but we're not that big yet. If you look at our webpage, I think there's only 3 pages.
Well, I mean, I have a simple website on Wix. I've had people tell me I should go to Shopify. I just haven't done it yet.
We paid a lot of money for this website. I'm embarrassed to tell you a lot, probably too much, but again, I don't know.
In the middle of trying to.
Shopify is definitely the way to go. I have zero technical experience building websites. I did my site myself.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
this is after I paid somebody $5,000 to build a website on WooCommerce, which was total shit.
75 grand?
No, 5 grand.
$5,000. Yeah, 75. That would be a quick way to get out of business for sure.
Yes, sir. Very
Yeah.
much so.
Wow. So
But
yeah.
you for a little bit there, you made me feel better.
75 grand it is.
There you go. So no, I mean, you certainly got to be careful out there. You got to be smart. We're going to do one of our radio shows coming up, how to name your product. If you name it something that no one knows what it is, that nobody knows you're there. And if you use too common of words, then, the trademark office, somebody's going to come after you and tell you have to, cease and desist. So you got to be really smart about the way you use the words. And so that's one of the things that we're going to talk about in the next couple of weeks.
And the company that we hired is kind of savvy to that. They also do, if for some reason we cannot make a big show, they can do geolocating or something.
Geofencing around
that. So it's
and send ads that way to people's cell phones.
People within that area that show if they're looking for anything caster will be at the top of that. They offer more than just a web page, but yeah, it was just something we didn't want to deal with.
Right.
Yeah, no, I understand. I mean, the radio show is, streaming on 8 different platforms, but it's because we use Spotify. So it is.
So more than that, I extracted that audio as an MP3 and I put it on some of our socials, and we are creating a media page on the RDO site for that. Good. Yeah, more than 8.
So a whole lot more work involved in getting your product out than just inventing a damn product.
Oh, Lordy. Yes, there certainly is.
If anybody tells me if I ever get this done and I make a nickel and they say you shouldn't have made that much money, I'm going to say that's completely false because you have no idea what you're speaking of.
When you get to the point where you're actually putting money into the bank instead of taking money out of the bank, that is a success.
Yes.
I'm just
But until then, it's not.
No, that's right. That's right.
I'm just curious if you wouldn't mind, I'll tell you what I've done, but if you wouldn't mind sharing how much money you've already spent, whether it's from investments, your own money, other people's money, how much collectively have you put into your product to get it launched?
I got it reset.
We're probably 50.
We're about
Probably
$50,000.
50 grand, yeah. And this is self-funded. We both have day jobs.
Yeah. A couple of them.
Good thing.
Couple of them.
Have day jobs.
And my wife has a day job too, which contribute. And so did his. So 4 day jobs, and but we didn't take any loans.
Yeah, we've done all the engineering.
Yeah.
We 3D printed all these things. We stayed up all night and ignored our families.
Literally, so I don't know. For us, we had to form a business, like a formal business with a lawyer, and so there's 4 of us. It's Rick and I and our wives. And then there's a transfer on death kind of thing, and then they created as an LLC. There's literally just the 4 of us, and we're self-funded right now. But it's a burden. It's a lot of money.
Well, and most of my inventors are self-funded. They really are. And they'll go anywhere from, 20 to 75,000.
Yeah.
Can anybody here beat 50 grand?
I put in 60, but 30 of that was actually a Shark Tank type of competition where I won 30. I was the only woman.
Oh, congratulations.
Oh, wow, awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, it was a place
Okay.
I previously, a university where I previously worked, and out of you had to do a 1-minute pitch. I was yawning like no tomorrow. I was like yawn when I get really nervous. So I had practice. I did a 1-minute pitch in front of different university professors as well as foundation people, meaning local business people. And out of 19 people, I was one of 4 and the only woman to go to the final round, which is a 10-minute deck presentation. And I was one of 2 who won 30,000.
Congratulations.
Good for
That's
you.
Great.
That's good.
So
That's impressive.
very, very proud of that. But one thing that helped me win it, or at least I should say go to the second round, was after I gave my presentation and they would ask questions, because I have deafness and I wear hearing aids, I wanted to make sure I heard everything correctly. So if someone asked me, I literally went to them where they were sitting and had them hold Django and see how it was, and so I could hear them better. And they told me later that was a defining factor for me going to the next round. Because it was a more personal approach than just standing in the front and being nervous. But
Good for you. Congratulations.
And in addition, I would say that we
Some really good
starting a new business,
compliment.
we were able to get some of that money back in our taxes.
So that was
Good. However you can get it right.
Right.
So
I'm going to touch with you about these great
All right.
resource. So I'm going to definitely want to come back.
all right. All right, everyone, I will let you go. Thank you for joining us tonight. If anybody has any questions, get in touch. And Mendel, I need to get in touch with you to do your video for the radio show today. Thank you so much for participating. And I will talk to everyone later.
Pleasure.
Right, thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Rita.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Good thing up there.
Thank you for that.